to talk to you today about how you can use EFT for shame and that inner critical voice, which are one of the same thing. When somebody has an innate feeling of shame, it's not about the behaviour, because the behaviour is what brings on the feeling of guilt. Shame is about the deep core, about the belief about yourself. Anybody can suffer from shame. Babies, children, adults. And when it becomes part of your life, that shame, when it sort of is entrenched in you, it's very difficult to move on, because shame is that little critical voice that keeps hold of you, telling you and reminding you what you can and you can't do. So to use EFT on shame, I generally work on the voice, the little voice that's reminding us how ineffective we are, how worthless we are, how imperfect we are, how we are defective. And that voice, that critical voice, will keep reminding you all the time, keep you down, stop you from doing things that you want to do. I just want to show you how we can use EFT on that feeling of shame. So first of all, I ask you to, if you're suffering that feeling of shame, is to bring up that feeling of unworthy, not good enough, I'm useless, I can't. That tends to be a word that comes up quite a lot. I can't do this. I can't go and meet other people. I can't be better than anybody else. I can't achieve. Because that little voice inside is reminding you, who do you think you are? So let's just tap on some of that for the moment. Now you can start on the karate chop, remember? Or you can rub either of those sore spots here, or both of them, remember? As we do the setup phrase. And we don't have to use the even though, but we'll use it in this instance, okay? So it could be something like, even though I feel this great sense of shame, I am so flawed, I am defective, I'm not like other people. I want to honour myself anyway. I feel really shamed. I feel that sense of shame, of not belonging, of not being who I want to be. But I want to honour my feelings, and I'm doing the best I can. And then what I do is I work with that inner voice, and let's work with it, yeah? This voice that tells me I'm full of shame. This voice that holds me back. This voice that reminds me I'm no good. I can hear that voice. I can hear that voice saying to me, who do you think you are? Why are you going for that job? You've no right to go for that job. Who do you think you are? Hold back. There are other people better than you, remember? And I feel that sense of shame. I feel it deep inside of me. That overwhelming shame. The overwhelming sense of shame. Okay. And take a deep breath. And find out which of those hit the button. And I said, well, they're not good enough. Who do you think you are? And then do another round of tapping on the ones that came up. So that could be, even though I don't feel good enough, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got. Okay, I'm not good enough. I don't feel good enough. Nobody makes me feel good enough. Okay, etc. And you work on that. And then what I tend to do is then I will say, who does that voice remind you of? Or whose voice could that be? And sometimes clients will say to me, oh, that's my mother's voice, or it's my teacher's voice, who told me I'd never achieve, I'd never get anywhere in life. Because I couldn't speak up in school, it meant that I'd never communicate in the world, I'd never get anywhere, I wouldn't make friends. So we can tap on that. Even though that teacher gave me that sense of shame, and I took it, and I kept that sense of shame. And whenever I hear that voice, I believe it. I believe in that feeling of shame because I feel it. And that teacher reminded me. She told me I'd never be any good. So who am I to argue? I'm so full of this shame from what that teacher told me. She told me I'd never be any good. She told me I couldn't speak up in class. I'd never make friends. She told me all these things, and I believed her, and I'm still believing her. So you do a few rounds of like that. So when you start to use EFT on that, you see what I'm doing now? So we're moving on from that, then we're moving on to where that voice came from. Now sometimes you may not know where that voice has come from, and that's okay, it doesn't matter. Just tap for what you feel. The other important thing to remember is when this critical voice, this voice that keeps us back, I don't ever say to clients, push that voice away, you're not going to listen to it, stop, get out of my life. I don't say any of those things, I don't suggest any of those things. What I do say is that voice is there for a reason. And what's happened now is that voice is there to remind you, to protect you, to stop you from becoming humiliated, to stop you making a fool of yourself, to stop you from going above your station. That little voice is there to remind you of all those things. It doesn't want you to be harmed, it does not want you to feel the pain. So you can use then some tapping on that. So you say, even though I can hear that voice and the voice is trying to protect me and it's telling me all the things I shouldn't do, I accept my critical voice and I accept why it's there, and I also accept that I don't need it anymore. That voice that reminds me, that critical voice that tries to protect me, I know it's doing its best for me. I know it's trying to protect me from harm, and it's trying to protect me from pain. It doesn't want me to get humiliated again. It doesn't want me to suffer that embarrassment. I can appreciate and understand why that voice is there. Could do some of that. Then the next thing I work on then is I talk about when you understand the protective voice is to perhaps listen to why you think you need it. Why do you need that voice? What good is it doing you? What could you do without that voice? And you can do that. Maybe I've allowed this voice to take control for too long. Maybe that voice is like my parents, trying to tell me to be careful, not to get upset, not to get too involved, not to invest too much money, always be cautious. And maybe that voice is my parents' voice, and it's stopping me from doing things. It doesn't mean I can be the best I want to be. And I understand where this is coming from. I still hear that voice, and I do know it's taking control of me. This voice is getting too big. This critical voice is now taking over. That critical voice is taking control. It's got so much power. That voice has so much power. It's controlling me. That voice is controlling everything I do and everything I say. That critical voice won't let me do the things I want to do. It reminds me all the time of who I am. That critical voice, that inner voice, that voice from my parents, my teacher's voice. Just tap around for wherever it's come from again, okay? And why it's there, and it's there to protect you. Okay, that's wonderful. You're doing really well. So when you've done that, then you can do a nice positive round. When you've worked on all of those, work through each of them and bring them all down to a 0. The feelings and the beliefs. And try to understand and recognise that part of you, that critical voice, and why it's there. It's like the parent. It's like maybe your big brother or sister. It's like the people who want to protect you and stop you from harming yourself or getting too excited or whatever it is. But you know better. You know what's right for you. It's just that your critical voice won't allow you to do it. You want ambitions, you want to go for that job, you want to ask a girl out on a date, but you can't. Why? Because that voice is reminding you, that shame, that sense of shame. So you can work with that. You can do a lovely round, or you can do even things like imagining what this critical voice looks like. If it's not your parents or your teacher, but it could be just like a little gremlin. And it's there, like imagine that little voice constantly reminding you. So work with that. And then have a nice follow-up round afterwards of, even though that critical voice has to keep me from harm and it's there to protect me, I want to send it love and understanding. That critical voice keeps me back, and I know it's trying to protect me, and I want to send it love and peace. And I want to let it know that I don't need it anymore. I want to be able to manage on my own without this little voice. And whenever that little voice comes into my head, that critical voice comes in, I want to let it know it's okay. And I want to be able to choose some things for myself. And I don't want that critical voice to always remind me what I can't do. And I'd like to be able to make my own choices and decisions in life. Okay, so you just do a few rounds of things like that. And the other thing about the critical voice is how it sounds so demanding, and it sounds so positive in the way that you can't do this. Yeah? You can't. You won't be able to. You'll mess it up. Remember what happened last time? Don't even go there. So let's change some of the wording. Okay. My critical voice tells me I can't. And I believe that critical voice. When it tells me I can't, I can't. And then I don't. I can't do these things because of that voice. I can't do them. It's impossible. I'm not able to. Not a cat in house chance. I won't be able to do those things. My voice is reminding me. It won't let me go there. It won't let me do those things I want to do. And after a few rounds of that, then introduce, what if I could introduce the possibility? So we can bring in some lovely argument tapping here now, can't we? So we can do, I can't do this. Absolutely impossible. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. It's possible I can't. It's possible I can. You can use those argument tappings. Let me show you again. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can. Just do that and then finish on a positive. The other way is doing something like, it's not possible. It's not possible to be happy. It might be possible to be happy. It's absolutely impossible to be happy. It is possible to be happy. It's absolutely impossible. It is possible I could be happy. And end on a positive. So work with your critical voice. Don't fight against it. Just recognise why it's there. Treat it like the parent or the child even. Understand it. Recognise it. It wants your attention. It wants to take over. It believes it's doing the best for you. Use EFT on all of those and see the difference that it makes. Good luck.